I broke my leg saving the prince, and his majesty decreed a marriage for me. Yet the prince resented me for exploiting his kindness, believing I stood between him and the second daughter of the prime minister's household. He bided his time, plotting revenge in secret, and left my father and brothers dead without proper burial. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn to the day the prince was abducted. This time, I slipped into the bandits' ranks amid the chaos and kicked him into infertility. Let's see who would want a useless, childless man. When my husband returned, I was red-eyed, my fingers tight around Xinxingyu's throat. Seeing this, he kicked me flying. My back slammed into the rosewood table, the pain making my teeth ache. I opened my mouth to explain everything, but the words froze on my lips. Across from me, Chu Tianlin tenderly embraced Xinxingyu with a gentleness I'd never seen before. "Xingyu, does it hurt?" Suppressing my rage, I demanded. "Chu Tianlin, do you know it was Xinxingyu who ordered someone to lace my pregnancy medicine with excessive safflower, causing my miscarriage? She killed our child. For 6 years since marrying into the royal household, Chu Tianlin and I lived as polite strangers. He treated me coldly, yet upheld the general's household rules, never taking a concubine. Even though I bore him no heir, the capital hailed me as the fortunate lame princess, praising Chu Tianlin's profound devotion. Of the 3 great disgraces, failing to bear an heir is the worst. The imperial consort used filial piety to pressure me, forcing me to try every folk remedy for conception. Finally, at the start of this year, I became pregnant. This pregnancy was hard one. My elder brother had already chosen a childhood name for the child, Tianxi, a dragon child bestowed by heaven. 3 days ago, Xinxingyu came to visit me, bringing a bowl of pregnancy-preserving medicine. After drinking it, excruciating abdominal pain struck. Blood soaked through my undergarments, and the unformed fetus was lost. She killed my child, how could I spare her? Yet watching the two before me, so deeply in love, I suddenly realized they likely had a secret affair long ago. Chu Tianlin didn't take concubines not because he followed the general's manners rule of one wife for life, but to remain faithful to Xinxingyu. Staring at them, I couldn't tell which pain was worse, the betrayal by my own kin or the loss of Liner. Seeing my state, Chu Tianlin sneered coldly. It was merely a bastard child. Gone is gone. Only Xingyu is worthy to bear this prince's heir. Smack! I couldn't hold back and slapped Chu Tianlin across the face. You bastard! I rose and stormed to the door. This adulterous pair would pay dearly. Even if Chu Tianlin was a royal prince and Xinxingyu the second daughter of the prime minister's household, I feared nothing. As the legitimate daughter of a general, I had my father and brothers, heroes who had earned glorious military honors on the front lines, standing behind me. Chu Tianlin saw through my intentions and ordered his confidant to detain me. Lin Ruitang, do you think if your father and brothers were still alive, this prince would dare expose himself in public and put Xingyu in danger? Suddenly, I remembered, a month ago, Chu Tianlin volunteered to serve as a grain transport officer, escorting supplies to the front lines to support my father and brothers. I knew something was terribly wrong. That very night, battle reports arrived from the front. They accused my father and brothers of stubborn self-will, delaying military intelligence, and recklessly advancing deep into enemy territory, causing the needless deaths of frontline soldiers. The emperor flew into a rage. The next day, he issued an edict. The entire general's household was to be confiscated and its members executed. Chu Tianlin volunteered to sacrifice his own kin for the greater good, sending me to prison, in the imperial jail. As the daughter of a convicted minister, I sat slumped on a pile of moldy straw. Chu Tianlin arrived bearing a divorce decree, mocking me. You villain! Did you tamper with the grain supplies? I glared at him. After dismissing the guards, Chu Tianlin sneered triumphantly. Only 10% of the provisions I sent were fresh grain. The rest were laced with poison. Had they been wise, they could have secretly consumed the untainted grain and lived another half-month. But your father and brother were fools, insisting on sharing the soldiers' hardships and launching a night raid on the enemy camp. Their arrogance brought this upon them. You beast! Since marrying into this household, I've managed its affairs without the slightest negligence. My conscience is clear. Why must you scheme to frame my father and brothers? Tarnishing the general's reputation? Rage and hatred boiled within me, making me want to tear him limb from limb. And you dare ask why? Back in the White Horse Temple bandit affair, had you not orchestrated it yourself? Exploiting my kindness to repay a debt. Begging the emperor to decree our marriage, Xingyu and I would have long been the capital's most envied divine couple. She wouldn't have faced public censure, forced to marry a lowly guard and suffer endless torment. If you hated her so, why didn't you report it to His Majesty sooner? Your heart is poisoned. If you now hate Xingyu and torment her, what then? At this point, words are useless. I refused to argue with this fool over the details. Yet I couldn't help but laugh aloud. To hear of your father and brother's deaths and still laugh, you truly are a venomous woman. Your Majesty, have you heard the prince's words? This humble subject, Lady Lin Ruitang, now petitions your Majesty to execute the traitorous scoundrels who deceive the sovereign and frame loyal subjects. How could I have begotten such a monstrous creature as you? Beside him, Chu Tianlin, the condemned prisoner, rose without concern. His phoenix-like eyes gleamed with sharpness, none other than the current emperor. Soon, the crown prince led the imperial guards in, arresting Chu Tianlin and imprisoning him. Seizing the moment, I slipped away and took the prison keys. The current emperor is a man of deep loyalty and honor. Chu Tianlin is his own flesh and blood. I doubt he could bring himself to abandon him. Revenge must be taken personally. That night, the moon was dark and the wind howled. I infiltrated the imperial prison. At first, Chu Tianlin dismissed me, mocking my venomous heart, until I drew my bone-carving knife. The blade spun, slicing away his flesh. Only then did fear grip him. Slice after slice. His voice transformed from curses to pleas for mercy on bended knee. Pain. Ruitang. This prince is in agony. I beg you. Pain? I laughed. The night before the Lin family's confiscation, I received a letter from the front lines. The enemy had exposed my father and brother's corpses to the sun for 3 days, then hung them on the city walls for all to see. Mother retrieved their bodies under cover of night, falling into the enemy's trap. Before both armies, she set herself ablaze. Her body burned beyond recognition. His Majesty approved my plan to uncover the truth, not through empty words, but with my entire family's lives as collateral. I didn't notice when the blade sliced through my flesh, mingling my blood with Chu Tianlin's. Indistinguishable. I couldn't help but laugh aloud. So the beast's blood is red, just like mine. Chu Tianlin is dead. Xingyu still lives. When I arrived at the prince's mansion, she thought I was a vengeful spirit. She trembled like a sieve, yet her words were sharp. Lin Ruitang, don't blame me. If you must blame someone, blame your own inadequacy. I was merely securing my own advantage. You couldn't outmatch me in life, and you certainly can't in death. Therefore, I've come alive to claim your life. As I spoke, I dislocated Xingyu's jaw and shoved a plate of meat into her mouth. Tasty? At my words, Xingyu retched uncontrollably. I thought you loved it so much. Did you get scared after just one bite? After that night, she went mad. Killing to pay for a life, I have no regrets. Yet His Majesty commanded me to rise. To lose loyal generals who guarded the realm for the sake of a woman, 1,000 cuts would be too little. 100 deaths would not suffice. It is my failure as a father that has brought shame upon your father and brothers. To avenge your father, what crime is that? Chu Tianlin was blind in both eyes and heart, ensnared by Xinxingyu's sweet lies. He hated the general's mansion for repaying kindness with treachery. Believing his own deep affection to be a cunning scheme, he plotted everything without ever seeking the truth. He falsely accused his father and brothers of treason, forgetting that the Lin family had been loyal and heroic for generations, dedicating themselves to the state and dying on the battlefield. He thought fabricating rumors could destroy the general's mansion's reputation. But he forgot that the people on this land were not ignorant masses. They always knew who fought and died on the front lines, sparing them from a life of displacement and suffering. His Majesty, wise and forgiving, did not punish me. Instead, he intended to bestow upon me the title of County Princess, granting me the honors of a princess. His imperial grace is boundless, and I dare not accept it. That night, I gathered my belongings and rode north to the frontier. Chu Tianlin and Xinxingyu deserved death, but the barbarians who left my father, brother, and mother without proper burial also deserved to be executed. The people of the capital only remember me as the fortunate, lame princess consort, forgetting. Before marrying Chu Tianlin, I too rode my horse to the battlefield, slaying barbarians with a single stroke of my sword. When I opened my eyes again, the scent of sandalwood filled the air. It wasn't the biting wind of the northern frontier, nor the familiar scent of fresh grass. Surveying my surroundings, I realized I was in the White Horse Temple. Before me was Xinxingyu's delicate, charming face. I had been reborn. Memories of my past life flashed through my mind like a kaleidoscope. Tang tang. I hear the matchmaking tree at White Horse Temple is very potent. Let's go there to draw fortune sticks. Xinxingyu reached out to take my hand. In my past life, I had come to White Horse Temple to pray for my father and brothers. Unexpectedly, a band of mountain bandits burst in, taking Chu Tianlin hostage. Xinxingyu stepped forward, offering herself in exchange for the hostage. Xinxingyu was my confidant, a delicate maiden confined to the inner quarters. The bandits were treacherous. Fearing for her safety, I swapped identities with her and urged her to summon reinforcements. I risked my life to protect her, falling from the cliff while saving Chu Tianlin. Later, due to improper treatment, I was left disabled. His Majesty issued an edict granting me a marriage, leading to everything that followed. Seeking a match? The capital is teeming with young nobles. Who does Xingyu admire? I'm merely a secondary daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Finding a decent match would be fortunate enough. How could I dare speak of admiration? Xinxingyu's voice was sorrowful. At first hearing, it sounded as if I were mocking or belittling her. Following Xinxingyu's gaze, I caught sight of a flash of yellow, Chu Tianlin. He strode purposefully toward us. Xinxingyu curtsied, seemingly to avoid him, yet her handkerchief brushed his wrist unintentionally. In my past life, Xinxingyu never once revealed any affection for Chu Tianlin in my presence. Therefore, I never suspected the two of them were secretly colluding. Now, what if Xinxingyu never truly regarded me as a confidant, but had deceived me from the very beginning? I looked up at Chu Tianlin, only to see anger and disgust in his eyes. In a daze, I recalled the scenes from my past life when I met Chu Tianlin. It seemed Xinxingyu was present every single time, each time speaking to me in that same mournful tone. Each time, she appeared to be the victim. Fool! I cursed silently. One curse was for myself. I hated myself for failing to see people clearly in my past life. I hated myself even more for my arrogance and self-satisfaction. I had thought myself well-versed in military strategy and the ways of the world. Yet I had underestimated the struggles of women in the inner quarters, inviting disaster upon myself. The other was directed at Chu Tianlin. I hated his blindness and lack of conviction, allowing himself to be manipulated without a shred of independent thought. Xinxingyu alone could bewitch him so completely he lost all sense of right and wrong. Recalling the horrors of my past life, my heart twisted in agony. If Chu Tianlin believed my rescue was a mistake, then this time, I would grant this adulterous pair their wish. Amidst the commotion, voices erupted. Over a dozen black-clad, masked bandits stormed the temple. Caught in sudden peril, Chu Tianlin's face darkened despite his forced composure. Xinxingyu, however, appeared startled on the surface yet remained composed in her gaze, even taking the leisure to adjust her hairpin. In my past life, consumed by worry for their safety, I hadn't noticed. Now I realized this was indeed a staged performance. The bandits moved with practiced efficiency, their footsteps steady and deliberate. They walked with a slight rightward lean, their strides short and orderly. Even if they deliberately adopted bandit postures, their habitual habits couldn't be concealed. They marched in a goose formation, the distinctive step of the imperial city's Black Feather Army. The commander of the Black Feather Army, Yi Cheng, was precisely the lowly guard Chu Tianlin had scorned in his previous life. Chu Tianlin believed Xinxingyu had met with misfortune, but he didn't know that Yi Cheng harbored secret feelings for Xinxingyu. Chu Tianlin, clumsy and reckless, was swiftly captured. If you must arrest someone, arrest me. I am the concubine-born daughter of the Prime Minister's household. Xinxingyu cried out, her expression resolute, ready to face death. Yet as she spoke, she clutched my hand tightly. Ruitang, my fate is uncertain. You must care for my mother. Her eyes brimmed with expectation as she spoke. She knew my temperament, knew I'd protect her. That was true in my past life, but not this time. I smiled as I slipped the jade bracelet from her wrist. Xingyu, go with peace of mind. I'll deliver this family heirloom to Auntie He for you. Xinxingyu froze, her face twisted in agony. Xinxingyu appeared gentle and graceful, pitifully vulnerable, tugging at one's heartstrings. In truth, she was greedy, deceitful, and ambitious, manipulating men like puppets. A man like Chu Tianlin, so easily captured, wasn't worth sacrificing so much for. This performance was likely staged for the crown prince. Today, it wasn't only Chu Tianlin who came to the temple to pray for blessings, the crown prince was here too. Men pity the weak. If Xinxingyu sacrificed her life to protect him, it would surely move the crown prince. By bestowing favor upon the crown prince, she could also seize the opportunity to become the prince's beloved. A two birds with one stone scheme. Thinking of this, I found myself somewhat admiring Xinxingyu's audacity. But this time, she's bound to be disappointed. I slipped through the chaos and shouted, with the second young miss of the Prime Minister's household here, which of you bandits dares to make a move? Having gone this far, Xinxingyu would have to be surrounded to make the act believable. Mountain bandits aren't the type to spare the fair sex. But Yi Cheng was. He carefully shielded Xinxingyu from harm. Xinxingyu, however, feared arousing suspicion. She deliberately mingled with the crowd, sustaining several injuries. Now, her hair was disheveled, her appearance disheveled and bedraggled, bearing no resemblance to a lady of noble birth. Without these two burdens, I moved swiftly. The temple was a chaotic mix of people. I slipped into the bandits' ranks amid the confusion and made my way to Chu Tianlin's side. Just as I expected, Chu Tianlin, that insignificant little shrimp, was left completely unguarded. He lay sprawled on a pile of straw, snoring loudly. The beautiful rescuer and the heroic savior, a heavenly couple. Recalling Chu Tianlin's resentment from my past life, I raised my foot to kick him. I could already see the devastating kick taking effect. But at the critical moment, a clanging sound echoed. Someone had entered. The intruder moved furtively, seemingly harboring a grudge against Chu Tianlin. Spotting him, the figure delivered a kick. I inwardly lamented, just a few inches lower would have been perfect. My breath quickened in the heat of the moment. As if sensing something, the intruder crept step by step toward my hiding spot. I raised my hand to strike, but heard him speak. "Ruitang, don't hit me. It's me." The crown prince grinned, revealing a mouthful of white teeth. Paired with his sallow complexion, it looked oddly comical. The crown prince was a chatterbox. Without me saying a word, he spilled everything like beans pouring from a bamboo tube. During the bandit chaos, he'd noticed something amiss. His personal guards, dressed in his clothes, drew the attacker's fire. Worried his handsome features would stand out too much in the crowd, the crown prince tore his garments, smeared his face with soot from cooking pots, and disguised himself as a beggar among the pilgrims. "Ruitang, shoo, someone's here." While the crown prince was still confused, I had already approached Chu Tianlin. In a few swift motions, I stripped him bare. Then I used his belt to bind him to a pillar. The crown prince looked at me in bewilderment. Seeing his expression, I smeared soot across Chu Tianlin's face too. Chu Tianlin must have been reincarnated as something else. He didn't wake up even after all that. I couldn't spare him a moment. I hurriedly took the crown prince and fled. We hadn't gone far when we heard a woman's shrill scream. I suppressed the smile tugging at my lips. The crown prince was frail and now gasped for breath. Ruitang, why did you strip third brother naked?" Necessity dictated my actions. Hearing footsteps outside, I feared those bandits would harm your highness, so I had to inconvenience the prince. When the bandits entered, their attention would surely be drawn to the naked prince. That would be our chance to escape. Of course, that excuse was for the crown prince. Having lived in the northern frontier with my father and brothers for years, I couldn't identify people by sound alone. But distinguishing gender was no problem. The footsteps outside clearly belonged to a female guest. I truly hoped one bold young lady among them would step forward and deliver a decisive kick. Though I thought this, I couldn't let it show on my face. I looked at the crown prince, feigning regret. It's all this servant's fault for being overconfident, mistaking the footsteps for bandits causing trouble, and thus offending your highness. But concerning your highness's safety, how could the servant stand idly by? Should today's events reach his majesty's ears, this servant will bear full responsibility. Repeat the previous statement. Upon hearing this, the crown prince seemed deep in thought. It's all because this servant was overconfident. The latter part. Should today's events reach his majesty's ears. The first part. But concerning your highness's safety, how could this humble servant stand idly by? The crown prince laughed inexplicably all the way. His laughter sent shivers down my spine. Just as I was about to speak, a chill ran down my back. For masked figures leapt from the grass. Unlike those who confronted Xinxingyu on the mountain, this group attacked with fierce ferocity and cunning malice, targeting vital points below the waist with lethal precision. Facing 4 assailants while protecting the crown prince, victory seemed unlikely if a fight broke out. Fortunately, the crown prince was easy to manage. When I engaged them, he obeyed my instructions and stayed hidden behind a tree. After exchanging dozens of blows, I had a rough idea of their capabilities. I pulled a packet of powder from my robe and flung it at them. "Watch this, bone-eating powder." As they scrambled to dodge, I scooped up the crown prince and leapt into the river. We swam for what felt like an eternity before finally shaking them off. "Lin Ruitang, is your hand all right?" Bone-eating powder is deadly poison. It corrodes flesh and bone upon contact. "Your highness, rest assured, it was merely lime." After the perilous journey, once our clothes were dried by the sun, I led the crown prince onward. Yet, this arrangement felt unsettling. Gazing at the crown prince, an idea formed in my mind. What You want me to wear your clothes? It's an identity swap. For the sake of your highness's safety, I implore you to prioritize the greater good. A flurry of emotions crossed the crown prince's face before he reluctantly nodded. With rosy lips and pearly teeth, the crown prince possessed such striking features that, dressed up, he rivaled any noble lady. Tall and slender, I stuffed rags and straw into my boots. At first glance, I too became a dashing young gentleman. I bought a donkey from a nearby household and made do with it for the journey of several dozen miles. Finally arriving safely at the prefectural office. The crown prince had a very agreeable temperament, saving me much more trouble than Chu Tianlin from my previous life. What I hadn't anticipated was that the crown prince, disguised as a woman, attracted the attention of quite a few ruffians and thugs. Before returning to the city, the crown prince asked if he could change back into men's clothing. Of course he could. He could have changed back at the post station where we traded the donkey earlier. The thieves dared to strike at the White Horse Temple precisely because they knew it was remote and the crown prince had no personal guards there. But within the city walls? That was the crown prince's domain. They wouldn't dare. Yet seeing the crown prince in women's attire was a sight rarely seen in 100 years. I feigned deep thought, putting on an air of hesitation. To my surprise, the crown prince didn't bring it up at all, only asking for a veil. Upon hearing of the crown prince's assassination attempt, Magistrate Jiang arrived, having lost one shoe and trembling all over. Your servant failed to maintain order in his jurisdiction. I beg the crown prince's forgiveness. I am unharmed. However, bandits run rampant, endangering innocent citizens. You must hasten to the mountains to assist and utterly annihilate these rebels. Prefect Jiang nodded repeatedly in agreement. As I escorted Prefect Jiang out, the deputy magistrate waited outside. Your Excellency, you are not properly attired. If the crown prince accuses you of disrespecting imperial authority, what then? That is where you misunderstand. The crown prince is magnanimous. Seeing me like this, he will only think I acted hastily out of concern for his safety. Your Excellency is most astute. The crown prince, standing beside me, overheard these words. I hadn't realized Magistrate Jiang was so adept at smooth talk, a first-rate sycophant. Though I wonder how competent he truly is. I nodded in agreement. Otherwise, such remarks should be made behind closed doors, not spoken in my presence for the crown prince to hear. Only after they departed did I notice the crown prince's peculiar gait. Damn it, how could I have forgotten this detail? In my past life in the northern frontier, I often heard the old general speak of his longing for the capital. The current emperor is wise and virtuous. Within the palace, there is only one empress, 4 consorts, 2 concubines, and 6 children. 3 years after ascending the throne, the crown prince still had not selected a consort. Court officials pleaded with him relentlessly. Reluctantly, the crown prince revealed the truth. He had suffered an unexpected injury, rendering him unable to produce an heir. It was likely not from this recent wound. Your Highness, is everything all right with that? The crown prince followed my gaze and suddenly choked on his saliva. His face flushed crimson, yet his expression held a rare sternness. Lin Ruitang. What? What are you thinking? It's not thinking, it's fear. If the crown prince's injury strikes at his very foundation, wouldn't I bear the blame as a minister who failed to protect him? Your Highness, are you truly unharmed? Seeing my doubt, the crown prince gritted his teeth. If you don't believe me, you can try. Try? I repeated it instinctively, realizing my slip and hastily making an excuse to leave. Turning away in haste, I missed the crown prince's slightly elated gaze. Worried, I secretly asked the physician for an update. Rest assured, young lady. The young master merely chafed his thigh, no internal injuries. Thigh? likely from the jostling during the journey. Hearing this, I finally relaxed. After supper, the crown prince changed into casual attire and strolled leisurely through the marketplace. He felt fabrics, inquired about rice, and haggled with a chicken vendor while carrying a vegetable basket. Merchant: 50 coins per chicken, will you sell? The poultry vendor's weathered face flushed crimson with indignation. It was one thing for common folk in coarse hemp robes to haggle. But why must this fair-featured young master mock him too? It's a small business. Sir, add just 5 more coins. Just as I reached for my coin purse, the crown prince tugged my hand and led me away. The vendor gritted his teeth and relented. This outing yielded no novelty. The crown prince and I each carried 4 chickens, leaving no hands free. The kitchen maid was delighted, preparing lotus leaf roasted chicken. The crown prince nibbled on a drumstick, his eyes crinkling like a crescent moon. Who would have thought your highness so adores chicken? After swallowing the last bite of meat, he slowly regained his composure, becoming that elegant young noble once more. Chicken, duck, fish, melons, fruits, vegetables, I love them all. Ruitang, you don't know how happy I am today. Happy? Today we nearly met our end. Yet I could share life and death with Ruitang and escape together. That is a great blessing. But that is only one reason. Could the second be successfully haggling with a vendor to buy 8 chickens for dinner? The crown prince's eyes crinkled as he gestured toward the window. Twinkling stars and brightly lit streets, a prosperity unmatched in the northern frontier. The second joy was seeing normal prices for goods in the city and citizens living in peace and contentment. No wonder he spent the day wandering the streets, chatting idly with passers-by and inquiring about market prices. Father once said that long residence in the imperial court, without hearing the people's voices or inquiring about their lives, is a great taboo for a ruler. Though Magistrate Jiang is a sycophant, he spoke truth in one thing: the current crown prince is forgiving. Look at the crown prince. Even after facing danger just now, his first concern was the people. To have such an enlightened ruler, no wonder my father and brothers would risk their lives to guard the frontiers. Your Highness's concern for the people is indeed wise. But have you considered today's assassination attempt? The attackers came with fierce momentum, suggesting long-planned conspiracy. The mastermind behind this must be eradicated. Otherwise, should your Highness face danger again, it would spell disaster for the Empire. I speak to warn you. His Majesty currently has 5 sons and 1 daughter, with the crown prince being the second. The eldest prince died young. The 4th princess is obsessed with men. The 5th prince is mentally impaired from birth. The 6th prince is still a 5-year-old child. Chu Tianlin, though outwardly respectable, stands out among them. Yet he is weak and foolish, utterly captivated by Xin Xingyu. He is not the type to commit such acts. But he could be a useful tool. The mastermind behind this scheme has far-reaching ambitions. The crown prince is a wise ruler who should lead Great Yu to eternal prosperity, not fall victim to petty schemers. If your Highness trusts me, I have a plan. Those assassins did not appear out of thin air. During the frontline battles, the Fu tribes, outmaneuvered by my father and brother's strategies, frequently sent assassins. Each time, the ghost-faced moth precisely located their whereabouts. The same method was used by those loyal guards to track the crown prince. Dried female moths were ground into powder and mixed with the juice of the myroa grass. This mixture could attract male moths from miles away. However, the powder dissolved upon contact with water. That's why those men later lost the crown prince's trail. I suspect the mole working from within is the secret guard who swapped identities with the crown prince today. This way, even if the crown prince is injured, the guard remains a loyal servant devoted to protecting his master, and no one will suspect him. This is best. Since he believes the feigned injury ploy will work, I'll use his own scheme against him and lure the snake out of its hole. The next day, news spread throughout the capital. the crown prince had been attacked. And the general's eldest daughter, who had shielded him, lay unconscious. The crown prince's residence secretly summoned numerous physicians, shrouded in secrecy. Each entered nodding, exited shaking their heads, and knew nothing when questioned. The emperor flew into a rage, dispatching the Black Feather army to crush the rebellious bandits. After that day, the crown prince's personality changed drastically. His moods were unpredictable, his demeanor odd and unnatural, a complete transformation from his former self. Even his voice had become strangely high-pitched and shrill. Rumors spread through the streets that the crown prince had lost his mind. At the general's residence, the crown prince recounted to me in a raised voice the scene of him berating his ministers that day. Never imagined before that abandoning propriety and decency, acting so odd and unnatural, could feel so exhilarating. That old lecher, the Marquis of Dingyuan, with one foot already in the grave, still dared to abduct a maiden. In the past, whenever father scolded him, he would play the senior card and use filial piety to intimidate others. Today, I made them understand clearly what it means to be a sovereign and what it means to be a subject. His Majesty and the Crown Prince are magnanimous and benevolent, a blessing to the people. But with only a heart of compassion and no thunderous authority, one cannot subdue the ministers below. After the Crown Prince went mad from illness, he became the Emperor's second voice. The Emperor's mood was unburdened, his imperial countenance beaming with delight. He devoured a whole pork knuckle. The Crown Prince spoke with animated enthusiasm, his excitement palpable. Mid-sentence, he lowered his head. I feel exhilarated now. But rumors can be deadly. Which noble lady would dare marry me in the future? Your Highness, fear not, this is merely an act. Yet I've heard the prince truly did shatter one. Fearing discovery, I feigned sorrow. Chu Tianlin shattered an egg, alas. Not by my hand. It was crushed that day by the daughter of the Duke of An. Chu Tianlin values his reputation, such matters could never be shared with outsiders. No wall is impervious to wind. By examining the medicinal dregs discarded by the prince's servants, I can discern the truth. Yet the crown prince remains the focus of gossip. Though few heed him, his laughter abruptly turned to grimness. A sudden realization darkened his face, and he strode away without a backward glance. As the crown prince exited the mansion, Xinxinyu was arriving for a visit. Upon seeing him, Xinxinyu deliberately offered her greetings, displaying her most pitiable demeanor. The crown prince glanced at her and spat. Ugh, a fox-like seductress. You know what? You're absolutely right. The crown prince isn't half bad, we could have been sisters. Hearing this, Xinxinyu's body froze. I imagined she was disappointed, realizing the rumors were true. I don't know if she came to see me or just happened upon the crown prince. Still, she played her part perfectly. She even brought me a specially brewed medicine. Tang Tang. This is a remedy I found in ancient texts. It's remarkably effective for your condition. How could I possibly drink Xinxinyu's medicine? My hand trembled, spilling the liquid medicine. Shards scattered across the floor. Seeing this, Xinxinyu reached to pick them up but accidentally cut herself. She cried out in pain. Chu Tianlin arrived neither too early nor too late, witnessing the entire scene. Seeing this, he hurriedly helped her up with concern, glaring angrily at me. Your Highness misunderstands. Xinyu was worried the shards might hurt Tang Tang, so she picked them up herself. It had nothing to do with Tang Tang. As Xinxinyu spoke, she deliberately lowered her gaze, adopting her usual pitiful expression. At her words, Chu Tianlin's reason fled, leaving him raging like a mad dog. Lin Ruitang, you have no conscience whatsoever. The second young miss kindly brewed medicine for you. If you refuse to drink it, that's one thing, but to throw it on the ground and insult her, Open your dog eyes and see clearly. With injuries like mine, how could I possibly hold a medicine bowl steady? I revealed my arm, tightly wrapped in bandages. This time, Chu Tianlin fell silent. What brings you to the general's mansion? I heard you were injured. My mother ordered me to deliver this 1,000-year-old ginseng. She insisted I bring it. It has nothing to do with me. Chu Tianlin held his head high, looking utterly reluctant. That pathetic expression was infuriating. I wanted to crush that egg too. Finished delivering it? Then get out. You. How dare you speak to me like that? Chu Tianlin clutched his chest, incredulous. Oh, I almost forgot. Without the events of my past life, I'd still be infatuated with Chu Tianlin right now. From childhood, I lived with my father and elder brothers in the northern frontier, yearning to fight on the battlefield like them. But mother wouldn't allow it. She said sons of the Lin family serve the nation loyally, death is no sacrifice. But daughters are different. Daughters are meant to be cherished. Before age 7, I was born in the northern frontier. After 7, I grew up in the capital. The northern frontier's winds and sun. Its bitter cold of the deepest winter. My skin retains an indelible rosy glow, a stark contrast to the porcelain complexions of the capital's noble ladies. They covet the rewards bestowed upon the general's household, yet look down upon me, this country girl. Their cliques, their exclusion, their cold, cutting remarks, inevitable. It was Chu Tianlin who gave me the jade complexion cream, helping me blend in among the capital's noble ladies. He was my first true friend. Later, when he drowned unexpectedly, I happened to pass by and saved him. That day, the sun shone warmly. The fair-skinned youth, his lips rosy, breathed faintly like a kitten in my arms. Clutching my hand, he vowed to cherish me forever. That single promise bound me for half my life. In the past, I would never have uttered such words to him. But times had changed. Don't you understand human speech? Put down your things and get out. I urged him once more. Even as he was driven from the general's residence, Chu Tianlin remained in a daze. He recounted the incident to his attendant. The attendant fawned, trying to appease him. Your Highness, you don't understand. This is the woman's scheme, playing hard to get. Just waiting for you. For your friend to change her mind. Hearing this, Chu Tianlin felt satisfied and snorted coldly. Trivial tricks. The chancellor petitioned the emperor for a royal marriage decree, intending to wed his eldest daughter, Xin Xingyun, to Chu Tianlin. Xin Xingyun was arrogant and domineering, always picking on Xin Xingyu. Hearing she might become the prince's consort, she grew even more brazen. That day, Xin Xingyu brought osmanthus cakes from East Street to see me. Even with light makeup, I instantly spotted the handprint. Xin Xingyun hit you? Xin Xingyu nodded. Dragging my still-injured body, I stormed into the Prime Minister's residence with Xin Xingyu and slapped Xin Xingyun right across the face as she sat munching on melon seeds. Dare to bully Xingyu again, and you won't get off lightly. Xin Xingyun gritted her teeth but dared not retaliate. Because she knew, every time they clashed, she was the one who lost. After leaving the residence, Xin Xingyu wrapped her arm around mine and pouted. Tang Tang, it's so good to have you. Is that so? Do you think it's good to have me? Or good to have me backing you up? Venting your anger, and taking the fall for you? I pinched Xin Xingyu's chin, accidentally applying a bit too much force. A faint red mark appeared on her delicate, pale cheek. Everyone in the capital believed I despised Xin Xingyun, that we were sworn enemies who couldn't stand the sight of each other. Whenever I was around, I'd go out of my way to humiliate Xin Xingyun and make her look foolish. The noble ladies gossiped behind my back, calling me vicious and petty. But no one knew I never truly cared about Xin Xingyun. My targeting her was solely to spare you any hardship in the Prime Minister's residence. With me as such a conspicuous target, she wouldn't have to remember you. Forced to grovel and humble yourself. The more I spoke, the darker Shin Xingyu's expression grew. She wasn't stupid, she knew I'd seen through her manipulation of me. Shin Xingyu, this is the last time I'll stand by you. Or rather, the first time I'll break the wings that shield you. Tang Tang, what are you saying? Shin Xingyu began to panic. Shin Xingyu, I'm going to the northern frontier to find my family. What about the capital? What about the prince? Haven't you always been unable to let him go? Shin Xingyu, how can you not understand? I let go of Chu Tianlin long ago. What I can't let go of is the you who watched the stars with me on the rooftop when I was 12. In my naive youth, I was consumed by thoughts of Chu Tianlin. My sister-in-law said, if you like someone, be bold. Women in the north pursue men directly. A bold, passionate confession. A fiery dance before the bonfire, that's all it takes to unite two souls. My sister-in-law, a northern girl, fell for my brother at first sight. She won him over this way. But she, who'd never left the north, didn't know confessions vary by region. In the capital, such behavior is called wanton. When I confessed to Chu Tianlin using my sister-in-law's method, I only received his icy mockery. Not even the dancers in the imperial brothel are as shameless as you. In my youth, I always craved passionate, tumultuous love, mistakenly believing it was true affection. His single sentence shattered my world. I shut myself indoors, my eyes swollen like walnuts. When Shin Xingyu heard of this, she rushed to the general's residence that very night to comfort me. Don't listen to that bullshit, she said. Tang Tang, you're the bravest girl I've ever known. We lay together on the rooftop, gazing at the stars. Shin Xingyu hooked her arm through mine, declaring she would become the most honored woman in Great Yu to protect her aunt. And to protect me. I declared I'd become Daiyu's first female general, protecting the general's mansion and her. Yet childhood sweethearts, once inseparable, eventually drifted apart. Before leaving the capital, I visited the Crown Prince's residence. Your Highness, these are hidden daggers. Keep them safe for when you need them. Lin Ruitang, where are you going? Won't you stay to protect me? Your side is surrounded by masters, you don't need me. Compared to you, my father, brothers, and the people in the distant frontier need me more. The Crown Prince paused, then quickly recovered, pulling me along to the palace. In the carriage, our eyes met. The air grew scorching. The Crown Prince deftly produced a roasted sweet potato, steaming hot, freshly baked. It gave off a warm glow. He peeled it while scratching his ear. Going to the frontier is good. Having a legitimate reason is even better. Ruitang, what do you think of the title Grain Inspector? A pale, delicate hand extended, holding a piece of sweet potato. Here, eat it while it's hot. The sweet potato was perfectly roasted, sweet and soft. It melted with a gentle bite. Your Highness is wise. Military provisions and winter clothing are major expenditures from the Great Yu Treasury. In my previous life, it was the loss of provisions that led to the tragic deaths of my father and brothers. Reborn once more. I must not repeat that mistake. With the Crown Prince's support, His Majesty swiftly appointed me as grain supervisor, granting me imperial authority to oversee grain transportation. Should I uncover corruption? I was empowered to execute offenders before reporting to the throne. Court officials resisted, discontented with His Majesty's decision to entrust me with such immense responsibility. In the imperial hall, I engaged in a verbal duel with the scholars. The Crown Prince supported me from the sidelines. Our coordinated arguments left many officials flustered. On the eve of my departure from the capital, The crown prince gave me a letter. If the day comes when the northern frontier no longer needs you, write your reply on the back of this letter and have it sent to me. I will wait for you. I quickly tucked it into my robe. That small piece of paper, once in my hands, felt as heavy as 1,000 pounds. The crown prince watched my actions and laughed mockingly. You coward. You pretend not to understand my feelings. Would you dare kiss me? Unlike me. Before he could finish, I stood on tiptoe and planted a peck on his forehead. I will clear away the chaos for you in the rear camp. Your Highness, please proceed with caution. Safety comes first. The role of grain inspector was no easy task. The accompanying grain officers, seeing I was a woman, treated me with utter contempt, barely holding back accusations that I'd secured the position through connections. Only when they witnessed me personally capture the bandit chief who'd raided the imperial silver and execute him with a single stroke did they acknowledge my capability. Armed with the imperial sword, I cut down fierce bandits along the way, safely escorting the provisions to the northern frontier. Upon seeing the plump, bountiful rice, the warm, protective garments, and the convoy far exceeding the usual size, the soldiers tasked with inventorying the goods stared wide-eyed. Holy cow! We're getting rich! General! General! Come out quickly! We're loaded! What's all the shouting about? You'll make the grain transport official laugh at us. The burly general emerged and scolded the young officer. But when he saw the convoy outside, he grinned so wide his teeth gleamed. Fearing it might look unprofessional, he quickly composed his expression. Then, completely unprepared, I threw my arms around him. Father! I followed Father into his tent to rest, telling him about my role as grain inspector and how I'd executed corrupt officials along the way. Father's face lit up with joy. My daughter, you never disappoint. Then his expression turned stern. You stubborn girl. Your ambitions run too wild. Why leave the comforts of the capital to suffer here? The capital is fine, Father, but it doesn't have father, brother, or sister-in-law. As we spoke, Mother arrived. Like Father, she first expressed concern, then began scolding. Father stood by my side, defending me and praising my heroic deeds in guarding the grain supplies along the way. But Mother suddenly burst into tears. What heroism? I only hear the extreme danger in it. If something happened to Tang Tang, how would you make it up to me? Father quickly begged for mercy, ordering me to return to the capital to plead my case and resign from my post as grain supervisor. Father and Mother worry for their child's safety, but I worry more for the army's provisions. What if villains sabotage the supplies? Swapping them out? If the soldiers grow weak and hungry, leaving them vulnerable to attack? What then? That won't happen. His Majesty is wise, he won't allow such things. The soldiers are accustomed to simple fare. I said nothing, only looked at my parents. Is habit the right path? Of course not. It's merely the only path available for now. But I am that path, the path to improving the lives of the soldiers in the northern frontier. In my past life, I spent my entire existence battling the northern nomads. I know their cunning, their treachery, their military strategies. With me here, they have the best possible support. In my 3rd month in the north, I received a letter from the crown prince. His Majesty decreed a marriage. Chen Xingyun was to wed Chu Tianlin. Chu Tianlin readily agreed. This time, without my involvement, Chu Tianlin offered no resistance. His claim of repaying kindness was merely an excuse for his own hypocrisy and cowardice. Another 3 months passed. Chu Tianlin petitioned His Majesty to take Shen Xingyu as a secondary consort. Chu Tianlin gained his beauty as desired. Yet marital life proved far from peaceful. Though Shen Xingyun was his official consort, the couple delayed consummating their union. Unable to contain herself, Qin Xingyun administered potent aphrodisiacs to Chu Tianlin. Only during their union did the peculiarity become apparent. Chu Tianlin had sustained an injury long ago. Sustained by medication. An overdose now rendered him impotent. Qin Xingyun, being a gossip, made the scandal public knowledge. The capital soon buzzed with rumors of Chu Tianlin's inadequacy and the princess consort's divorce petition. Within days, the narrative shifted. Rumors spread that Qin Xingyun was promiscuous by nature. Once, in broad daylight, Chu Tianlin returned early from court and caught Qin Xingyun having an affair with a palace servant. Cornered like a cornered dog, Qin Xingyun turned around and spread slanderous rumors. Seeing me reading the letter intently, my brother hid behind me, peeking out quietly. Reaching this part, he couldn't help but blurt out, "Is the gossip in the capital really this juicy?" In the blink of an eye, the entire military camp knew about Chu Tianlin's impotence. My brother knew of my past with Chu Tianlin and looked down on him. In a way, this served as my revenge. Little did he know that in my previous life, I had flayed Chu Tianlin alive. Such a man was beneath my contempt. Life in the barracks was nothing like the luxuries of the capital. But it was simple. The soldiers were straightforward, focused only on achieving glory, finding a wife, and returning home to bring honor to their families. Armed with the experience from my past life, we won 9 out of 10 battles against the Hu tribes. Watching them stumble and fail was quite amusing. The crown prince sent over many more letters. They were filled with gossip, all concerning Chu Tianlin. Rumor has it Chu Tianlin, fearing his own inadequacy, divorced Qin Xingyun and then petitioned His Majesty to marry the daughter of the Duke of Dinghua. No sooner had Chu Tianlin arrived at the palace to seek the imperial decree than the Duke of Dinghua rushed to apologize to His Majesty, refusing the match. He was bold. But did he not consider which maiden would marry a useless man incapable of producing an heir? Besides the crown prince, Qin Xingyu also wrote me. She warned me not to get too cocky, insisting she wouldn't let me witness her triumph. 3 months after receiving that letter, the chancellor was executed and his estate confiscated. The list of his crimes filled more than a single page. Charge 1: Conspiracy to murder the crown prince. The crown prince had feigned defeat, then followed the trail to uncover the chancellor's spies disguised as imperial guards. His aim was to ensure the crown prince had no heir, forcing His Majesty to hand the throne to that fool, Chu Tianlin. Compared to the crown prince, Chu Tianlin was far easier to manipulate. Charge 2: Embezzlement and bribery. This crime was uncovered while I supervised the transport of military provisions. During the crown prince's confiscation of assets, a mountain of gold was discovered. The wealth hidden in the chancellor's household could have provided frontline soldiers with sumptuous feasts for 30 years. Charge 3: Treason and collaboration with the enemy. Abusing his power for personal gain, the chancellor planted spies within the military camps, selling intelligence to the barbarians for profit. Each charge alone warrants execution 10 times over. Even the most benevolent emperor could not spare him. Beheading would be too lenient. The crown prince proposed dismemberment by 5 horses. Court ministers dared not object. Speaking recklessly in such perilous times, they must have no regard for their lives. After the chancellor's downfall, Qin Xingyu's life grew even more wretched. Perhaps it was the mutual repulsion of 2 crippled souls. Or perhaps Chu Tianlin was simply a beast who reveled in kicking people when they were down. In any case, Chu Tianlin found endless fault with Qin Xingyu, tormenting her night after night. By the time I returned to the capital, Chu Tianlin had become a corpse. The one who killed him was none other than Qin Xingyu herself. From prison, Qin Xingyu had someone relay a message to me. She wanted to see me. Inside the cell, Qin Xingyu stood with her hands behind her back, gazing out the window. She didn't look like a prisoner, but rather a strategist commanding the world. Lin Ruitang, do you know why Chu Tianlin was so utterly devoted to me? targeting you in every way? She didn't wait for my answer, speaking as if to herself. Because I assumed your identity, the identity of your savior. Isn't that ironic? You were the one who jumped in to save him. Yet because I happened to be passing by and stood before him, he mistook me for his rescuer. How amusing. The servants of the Prime Minister's household, who once treated me with utter contempt, suddenly became respectful after Chu Tianlin escorted me back to the mansion. Even my father, who'd never cared about me before, praised me for doing the right thing. But they don't know, all of this is stolen. Stolen days feel so good. Yet I can't sleep soundly. I'm terrified that one day I'll wake up and the truth will be exposed. Luckily, you're foolish enough to treat me as a friend. And you gave me the chance to humiliate you in front of Chu Tianlin. If you called me here just to say this, you needn't have bothered. A worthless man like Chu Tianlin? I don't want him. Shen Xingyu laughed aloud upon hearing this. I hate your attitude of indifference to everything. We're both despised by others, what gives you the right to act so noble? Before Chu Tianlin died, I told him you saved him. He actually cried, saying he was sorry to you. The Crown Prince loves you. His Majesty cherishes you. And even that good-for-nothing Chu Tianlin felt he owed you an apology. Lin Ruitang, how is it that among women, you alone have such a charmed life? His Majesty cherishes me because my father and brothers fought valiantly on the front lines, securing peace for great you with their very lives. As for Chu Tianlin, who cares about an incompetent's apology? The Crown Prince loves me, let's set that aside for now. I am indeed fortunate to have parents and brothers who cherish me. Lin Ruitang, had I been born into a general's household, I wouldn't be any less fortunate than you. Shen Xingyu declared with absolute certainty. Then I wish you a good rebirth next life. Into a family where your parents cherish you. Lin Ruitang, I once genuinely considered you a friend. But later, greed clouded my judgment. The lust for power crushed everything. I stared at her as I finished the second half of the sentence. Shortly after I left, Shen Xingyu threw herself against a pillar and died. She seemed weak and easy to bully. But in truth, she was proud and self-righteous. Even in death, she refused to accept another's blade. After Shen Xingyu's death, the imperial consort ordered her body cast into the mass grave to be devoured by wild dogs. For she had killed Chu Tianlin, her own son. That night, a figure limped through the darkness, carrying Shen Xingyu's body away to bury her remains properly. Had Shen Xingyu known, she would have recognized this figure as Yi Cheng, the man she had dragged into ruin. Yi Cheng's past involvement in Shen Xingyu's bandit operations had been exposed. His leg was broken, his collarbone shattered, and he was expelled from the Black Feather Army, branded a cripple despised by all. When the Crown Prince learned of this, he asked him, "Do you regret it?" Yi Cheng's gaze was unwavering. "I regret not climbing high enough to give her what she desired." The Crown Prince sighed. Most lovers in this world are afflicted with some form of madness. Side story. The 5th year after the Chancellor's downfall, father routed the enemy camp, capturing the barbarian commander alive. Great Yu returned in triumph. Upon the city gate, the Crown Prince and I locked eyes. I waved the yellowed paper in my hand. It was the letter I dared not open 6 years prior. I feared he would bind me to the confines of the inner quarters with his love. Yet when I finally opened it, I found a poem written in sweeping, dragon-like strokes. The great general marches south with bold spirit, his waist adorned with the autumn water's goose-feather blade. Wind stirs the alligator drums. Mountains and rivers tremble, lightning flashes. Banners soar. Sun and moon stand tall. Heaven's Qilin has its true lineage, how could ants in their burrows ever escape? When peace calls the imperial decree home, I pray the general lays down his armor. His Majesty rewarded merit, promoting me to Dai Viet's foremost female general. The Crown Prince brushed the dust from my general's cloak. He knew me, understood me, loved me, protected me. His eyes held 1,000 depths of affection. Yet they distilled into one phrase. General, you have served well. I clasped his hand in return. For die viet. For your highness. I would die 10,000 times without regret. This profound bond between us needed no further words. The end.